Interview 2, take 2.
Hey look, we're coming to you from a beautiful boat in the middle of Alaska. We are on an adventure. The PetaPixel team is here shooting a documentary, and we shot it entirely on the brand new Fujifilm Eterna cinema cameras. Now, we've just released a trailer video. You can watch it on the channel about this amazing experience, but I'm gonna give you guys a behind the scenes look. I'm Chris Niccolls, this is PetaPixel, and this is Alaska. Now, this documentary that we made would not be possible without Fujifilm's support. I mean, they basically funded this expedition and provided us the cameras. And no, this is not a camera review. We just really want to show you the experience that we had. Fujifilm wanted to get their cinematic cameras in a situation that could just really show off what they're capable of doing. So they made this possible, and we really appreciate that support. What we want to show you is just a lot of stuff about what we're actually doing out here, my personal story for the documentary, the cameras that we've been using. I think you guys are going to enjoy this sneak peek and just what we did here and all of it coming together to make an amazing project happen. Besides myself, Jaron, and Jordan, we also have Dima, who's actually been doing a lot of the BTS stuff, drone pilot. It's been really great to have him. Dima, who said you could bring guns on the boat? Matthew from Fujifilm is actually one of our chief technicians for operating these new Eterna cinema cameras. He's also B-cam, so we've been able to have different camera angles besides Jordan. And then Alex, he's a great friend of ours. We've had him on the show before. We've worked with him for many years. Fantastic audio guy. He's doing all of our sound and DIT work. These Fujifilm Eterna cinema cameras have large sensors. They're made to give really beautiful results, but they're also physically large for the environment. We had to kit them out. We were very worried about not dropping them in the water or smashing them on rocks. That was a very real risk. So there was lots of garbage bags and shower caps and, you know, a little bit of trepidation and fear of trying to protect these, but they persevered just fine. And I think we did too.
It's Jordan Drake, and I was the cinematographer on this. And usually I'm following Chris around with small little mirrorless cameras making our YouTube show. But because we're moving on to a cinematic camera, we needed access to a bunch of stuff that I just didn't have. So I was thrilled that we were able to connect with Abel Cine, who hooked us up with all kinds of glass, all of the accessories that we needed for wireless transmission, follow focus, all kinds of stuff like that. But the most exciting thing about the Eterna for me is because that sensor is so big, you can put all kinds of different lenses on it, and it has different recording modes or cropping modes to allow you to utilize those. So we had Atlas anamorphics out here with a 1.5 times squeeze factor. We also had the brand new Sigma Izu primes and the Nisi Athena lenses. And I was really surprised because those last two are generally rated for full frame, 24-36, your classic full frame photographic coverage, but they actually covered this larger sensor really nicely, so I could get extremely shallow depth of field and kind of an interesting look with that larger sensor than these lenses were originally designed for.
My name is Matt Weintritt, and I am the second cam operator for No Guarantees. Because of the aspect ratio that they want to output the final film in, we're recording most of this in 4K 16:9 GF format, so that is still using the entire width of that large sensor. That will be cropped a little bit farther to their final aspect ratio. We are also using that because the 1.5x anamorphics from Atlas natively de-squeeze to a 2:1. when we're using our GF open gate mode, which is a 4:3 or 1:33:1 aspect ratio. 1.5D squeeze puts us at that 2:1, which is going to be our deliverable.
But one thing that's really hard to find when you're looking at cinema glass is lightweight super telephotos, and that's where actually some of the native Fujifilm lenses really came in handy, having a 500mm f/5.6, 1 to 200mm f/5.6, meant that we could kind of keep our distance if necessary, but also so we could get some really interesting kind of compressed perspectives that generally you wouldn't see with these. Having all of these different lens options was great. It meant I could really experiment with ways to capture a whole bunch of Chris in rivers catching fish and make it just seem different and dynamic consistently while we were shooting it. But for me, the biggest change in this project is that we had 2 cameras running, and I had Matt running the secondary camera. And all the time, I'm looking for the specific types of shots that I get a lot when Chris is taking photos on our YouTube show. But he was seeing all kinds of different angles. And one of the most exciting things about this project was at the end of every day when we're looking at the footage we shot that day, being like, oh yeah, Matt got that great angle, or holy hell, he got really close to that bear. That's really scary. And I think all of those different choices just made this whole project feel a lot bigger and a whole lot more comprehensive. The other thing is, I'd seen the Fujifilm F-Log 2C profile before on mirrorless cameras, but never really had a project to take advantage of it. And it's a great profile if you want just maximum flexibility and really beautiful color. I've always liked working with F-Log, and this is by far the most advanced version of it. One thing I hear from photographers all the time is they're shooting film or they're using older cameras so they can do a little bit more deliberate photography and really focus on the composition. And I found the exact same thing happens when you're using these very large camera packages. Like, yes, it was great that I had a crew and that made all of this possible. But at the same time, if you know you've got to drag a giant tripod and a huge camera through a creek to get the shot you want, you better make sure that is exactly the composition that you want in the final film. So I found it really exciting to be just a little bit more deliberate about what I'm shooting, a lot less run and gun, and it was a really fulfilling creative experience.
Probably one of the biggest challenges outside of the weather that we've experienced for this production is getting all of the gear up to Alaska with a small crew. So there's not a lot of room on the boats, pretty much just a skeleton crew. We don't have any assistants or anything. And then we also chose not to ship any of our gear because we wanted to make absolutely sure that it got here. So I think each crew member had 2 carry-ons and 4 checked bags. Getting through the airports was challenging. We chose to drive a leg of the way to get everything to the flights that had larger planes to cut out the smaller planes. So yeah, lots of coordination just to get all of the gear here, and moving around with all of that gear has been interesting. One of the other things that definitely was a little bit of a workout was carrying the gear, tripod, sticks, everything through some waist-high water, through waist-high brush and overgrowth there, Alaskan wilderness, I guess, if you will, to follow Chris around while he's been fishing this whole time. He moves pretty quickly with nothing but a fly rod, and trying to keep up with him with all the gear has definitely been a workout.
Hey, it's Jaron Schneider here, and I was the director of this film, and I also helped adapt Chris's written story into something that we could put together into a short film.
I quit. I'm done. Guys, thanks for all your hard work. I know it's only day 2. I'm done.
I want to talk a little bit about how we did communication on this, because it was certainly more difficult than anything that we'd done in the past. Typically, we're standing right next to each other and can give each other direction and chit-chat and do whatever we need to make a film. Not here. Chris was in the water, and our camera teams were pretty spread out. And Alex, our sound guy, would be over with next to Chris to make sure that he captured the natural sounds of the water. Well, when you've got all that sound going on in distance, we're just not going to shout at each other. We needed headsets, so we picked up some from Hollyland. They're the Hollyland Solidcom SE headsets, and they are excellent. I really want to just say how incredibly strong and robust these things were. We put them through hell.
The first few days, first 3 or 4 days of this production were in solid rain. We didn't see the sun for 5 days.
This is Alaska. The weather is Alaska. It's going to be sunny one minute, raining the next. Some of these days we just got pounded with serious rain. And so another really interesting challenge that we've had is we're doing this very rugged adventure kind of filming. I mean, we're taking skiffs over the ocean into tiny creeks. We're hiking through bear country. We're crossing streams like saltwater, rain. Like, we're just getting pounded with bad weather and serious situations.
I'm being from Texas and operating in Texas, I'm more accustomed to worrying about cameras overheating. Luckily up here in Alaska, that's less of a concern. Even with direct sunlight, it's been perfectly fine. The water was a bigger concern for us, but through using some shower cap and bag type of devices and just huddling on the boats when we were up near the glacier, we managed to keep everything up and operational. We haven't had anything fail yet, and that's not just camera-wise, but all of the accessories, communications, everything we've been using, honestly, has been really surprisingly solid.
I couldn't be over both Jordan and Matt's shoulder every time to see what their shots looked like. Often because they weren't near me, they were in hard to get to locations, and they were never right next to each other. We use another Hollyland solution for this, their Pyro S system, using an SDI connection out of that into a handheld monitor. Jordan was able to send me his feed through his Hollyland monitor. Matt sent me his feed through a little transmitter system from Hollyland, and those came together to me on one screen so that I could switch back and forth and see what Matt or Jordan was shooting and could give them feedback through the headsets on exactly what we were going to try and capture. Usually I'm one of those guys who's like, you don't want to lean too heavily on the equipment, or the equipment doesn't make something good. In this case, it was a little bit more towards the direction of, yeah, I think the equipment really did help make some of this good. Without some of the stuff we had on set, this would have been an absolute nightmare.
There it is. Beautiful work. Just 45 more of those and we will be done.
So prior to this, I've directed a lot of commercial videos, literal commercials or spots for businesses. But this is the first documentary film that wasn't for a company that I've ever done. And it was significantly different than all of those. Working with Chris to create the story we went with was really neat.
So this documentary that we're making, it is actually a pretty personal story about me. Not only my love of fishing and photography, but also just like family. And I really do hope you guys enjoy it.
A lot of what Chris chose to put into this film is stuff that I didn't necessarily know about him. And he wanted to talk about it. And it let us tell a story that is truly unique to Chris, but I hope is relatable to many, many people.
When I go out to shoot a YouTube episode, my main job is to follow Chris and try and capture his experience while he's using new photo gear, where this is a much more contemplative, kind of introspective film, and that meant that I really have to think about the kind of mood that different camera setups are going to give us. So a lot of this was shot on a tripod, and I think a lot of the appeal of fly fishing is that it's a very solitary, tranquil experience, and I really wanted as many shots as possible locked off to capture that. However, when you get a fight, it can suddenly get very intense, and that's where the handheld footage, I think, really gave us that kind of very dynamic, spontaneous fly-on-the-wall feel. Certainly we could have used gimbals for very controlled camera movement, but I just don't think it would actually help the feel of the movie and the emotion that we were trying to convey.
When I do any type of photo project, photo or video really, I don't look at other people's work to decide what do I want to do. I sort of look at where I am and the people that I'm with and the equipment that we have, and I sort of let that inspire me to what we want to create. The only thing I really watched before we came out here was A River Runs Through It, because, you kind of have to. But other than that, I was rolling with whatever the scenes gave us and whatever Chris gave us. And honestly, whatever Jordan would set up, he had a really good eye, especially for the interviews. Man, I am so pleased with the interviews. The way that some of those shots came out looks phenomenal, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. One last major important thing that I think is worth talking about is how we managed our data on this, because this is stuff you can't repeat. If we miss a shot or we lose a memory card, this brutal. That would absolutely wreck the film. So what we had here was that Alex would take both of the memory cards out of both of the cameras and he would back them up every night. And then we would take those memory cards, whether or not they were full, and seal them off with gaff tape, label them, and put them away. Generally speaking, on a production like this, you would offload your memory, back it up, and then format the card every day. I was really nervous about that. I wanted us to have multiple duplicate backups. And luckily, thanks to the support of OWC, we were able to have enough memory on hand to have a new memory card every day so that we had an additional backup in case something went catastrophically wrong.
Why don't we talk about the fishing experience while we're out here? Because that is something that was really passionate for me. So our documentary is called No Guarantees, but when you're fishing pink salmon during their run, pretty much guaranteed you're going to catch fish. All right. I mean, I've seen like so many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fish in each pool. I mean, you're casting flies out and they just get angry and they want to smack them. Basically, the most obnoxious flies you could choose seemed to work. I tied a bunch of different patterns and I had success across many different colors. I do want to throw out a big thanks to Orvis because not only did they provide the gear that I could use to stay dry, but also to fish with. And so I brought a 5 weight out, a 6 weight out, and an 8 weight out, all Helios Ds. And I got to say, like the 6 and the 8, certainly I use the most because they got backbone. They handled these fish. They do fight hard. Some of them are getting up to 4 or 5 pounds. But I also wanted to catch species other than just pink salmon. And although they're really prolific right now, we still had the opportunity to catch some cutthroat trout and some dolly varda, which is always fun. But really what I was excited about is catching silver salmon, coho salmon on the fly rod. And I got an opportunity to do that from shore, and that was really awesome. Just bending the rod over, beautiful fresh fish right in the ocean. So lots of strong fighting power. And so I had a fantastic experience this whole time doing it. It's not just wildlife, it's not just fishing, it's also conservation and taking care of just the natural wonders that we have here. So we're actually traveling with a company called The Boat Company, and we are on a boat indeed. This is the Liseron. This is a 1950s era US Navy minesweeper, and it was actually leased to the French Navy. And then the Macintosh family took this back, they retrofitted it, and now they use it for many decades to give tours to people to show just everything that this place has to offer.
My name is Hunter McIntosh. I'm president and executive director of The Boat Company. We're the world's only not-for-profit cruise line operating in Southeast Alaska between Juneau and Sitka. The whole purpose of The Boat Company is to bring as many people as we can annually up to Southeast Alaska and show them, I mean, what is truly one of our nation's gems in the Tongass National Forest and one of the last remaining true areas of wilderness that we've got.
One of the nice things about having our production based on the Liseron was that it moves. So we were able to get a large variety of locations that have really different and distinct looks to them. One day we're shooting in a grassland. Another day we're shooting in rushing rivers. The last day we shot right next to a waterfall. This was a really great way for us to cram in a lot of different looks in a very short amount of time so that we were able to actually showcase what Alaska has to offer.
We're also the only small ship tour operator licensed to offer fishing on a daily basis. A portion of the ticket price is tax deductible for all U.S. citizens. It's been averaging 40 to 45% of the ticket price. It's a rather robust tax refund that allows us then to take everything we earn beyond our operating expenses and reinvest it back into conservation in Southeast Alaska. We've been in business 45 years and we've reinvested over $30 million back into conservation efforts. Biggest threats right now to the Tongass would be, sadly, our own federal government. Did away with a Clinton-era piece of legislation called the Roadless Rule, which prevented the Forest Service from building any more roads into pristine wilderness areas to allow for logging, mining. That doesn't just impact the Tongass, but it impacts all other national forests in the United States. However, the Tongass is the biggest target of the roadless rule being removed. The reality is that a forest like this is not going to come back in my generation, in my daughter's generation, in my great-great-great-grandkids' generation. It takes thousands of years for these old-growth forests to grow. The fact that we are in a temperate rainforest, the only one in the Northern Hemisphere. The Tongass at one point stretched all the way down in Northern California. Now it is basically in a small area in BC and then in Southeast. And of that, 90% of the old growth's already been clear cut. The ongoing joke with the boat company is we try to bring people up here and have them drink the boat company's Kool-Aid. And by that, we mean we let Mother Nature, we let the Tongass do the talking, see the whales, orca, humpback, see the stellar sea lions, see puffins. The forest does the work for us. Very rarely, if ever, have I heard somebody not finish this trip up saying it was life-changing. Protecting it has just become, a passion of not only our families, but the family of guests and whatnot as well. We've got to get people up here.
This team was really great to work with. Not just the PetaPixel crew that includes Dima, Matt, Jordan, Alex, and Chris, but also the crew of the Liseron. They were extremely helpful and invaluable to this production. Several of them found themselves in a PA position, a production assistant, and were totally happy to do that. We had them also in animal wrangler situations so that they could keep bears away or let us know that there was a bear nearby, which did happen. Everyone on the Liseron also was just so accommodating to everything that we needed, and we really, really appreciated them letting us onto their ship so that we could make this film.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed our little adventure and this sort of behind the scenes look at it. Again, we couldn't have made this possible without a lot of help from a lot of different people. So first off, big thanks to Fujifilm for providing the cameras to make this project look as good as we think it does. Huge thanks to the crew of the boat company. I mean, everybody took such good care of us. Hunter McIntosh made this possible for us to have this trip and have this experience, and it honestly was unforgettable. Orvis as well, providing the gear, keeping us dry, keeping us safe, waders, boots, fishing rods. I mean, I caught so many fish. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had. And again, a big thanks to our crew, Jaron, Jordan, Matt, Dima, Alex. Couldn't have been possible without you guys. I'm not gonna thank myself, but I mean, all the fish I caught, I think that'll be payment enough for my part of it. Remember that this is just our BTS and the trailer's out. If you are going to get to watch the actual documentary, it's gonna have to wait till after we run it through the festivals. We're gonna try to get this into fly fishing film festivals and documentary film festivals. And if nobody likes it, well, you get to watch it that much sooner. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed our little BTS look. Please leave comments below. Let us know what you think. If you want to talk about how great a fisherman I am and how many fish I caught, that's awesome. I would appreciate that. But hey, we all had a fantastic and unforgettable experience. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you soon with more on PetaPixel.
What I'm not sure if this BTS footage got across is how many fish I caught and what an incredible fisherman I am. And I want to leave you with that important message. I am Chris Niccolls, a very good fisherman.
Yes, exactly. That's great. I like it. I couldn't have said it better myself, so I was like, your audio bleed in and do that.